Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, check. Coach Jay hearing you loud and clear on this CPI day. Hope everybody did okay today. Welcome back. How are you doing today, Coach?
Doing well, doing well. PPI day actually. CPI tomorrow. But who? It's inflation. It's inflation. It's a number. It tells you how much Coach Paul and I look at fundamentals for our trades. We call it volatility day. Either way, regardless of the number, comes out around the same time every day. Whatever the news is, could be FOMC, whatever acronym you want to use, gets released right around 7:30 Central, causes some volatility, and we trade around it. But hopefully everybody, like you said, Coach, had a good day today, made it out with your accounts still intact. Let us know in the chat how your day went. Were you up on the day, down on the day, anything you learned from the day? Maybe you stayed flat and didn't trade at all. But welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. Been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since May of 1923. 2023. Today feels like I've been sitting at this desk for 1,000 years. I've also been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some experience and knowledge and hopefully assist you in becoming a better and successful trader.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. Hey, Anne-Marie in the chat. Good to see you here. Coach Hoop as well. Thank you for joining us. And all 615 of you watching right now, thank you for joining. We did have PPI numbers come out today. 3.3% year over year. Forecast was 3.5%. So inflation is lower than expected. Of course, we have the consumer price index number out tomorrow. Forecast on that year over year is, let's see, 2.9%. So we will see what that number comes out as tomorrow. Only other news that I saw, Coach, we had Fed Williams talking about housing affordability is the main concern for the New York Fed. We had Israel and Hamas agreeing to a ceasefire and a hostage deal, hopefully leading to some peace in the Middle East. But anything else on the news front that you've seen, Coach?
Nothing else on my end. I think tomorrow is the deciding day. Otherwise, we remain choppy overnight. That's the news I'm anticipating.
Agreed. Agreed. So let's get into the charts. Let's talk about the markets. I'll switch this over to my quote. Come on now. There it is.
Oh.
Switch this over to my quote board. There are 35 different markets that we can trade with Topstep accounts, not just the equities. And we like to focus on our biggest percentage movers. Today, to the downside, we had soybeans down 0.64%, crude oil down 1.32%, and platinum, our biggest percentage mover, to the downside at 2.69%. You recall a couple of weeks ago, I think it was last week, to start the year, we had platinum with a pretty nice rally to start the year. This is platinum going back to January 1st. We're seeing a little bit of a sell-off from that, maybe some profit taking from these longs. We did push into that $1,000 level and almost immediately reject off of there. In platinum, we've been selling off since then. Let's see, haven't looked at this chart much, but we're kind of under that VWAP. If I look at Coach Paul's moving averages, we're back under that 200 moving average. And a decent trend, right? Decent trending moves here. A 3% move presented a lot of opportunity. Not a chart that we talk about often, but especially with gold being kind of balanced right now. And we'll talk about gold when we get to the charts. Just looking at this platinum chart, kind of rapid fire analysis that we have here. It's a really nice, presenting some really nice opportunities currently. Uh, Again, not something that I've traded, but it's been in that top percentage mover. Of course, at some point that's going to change and it'll start to balance out. But some pretty nice trends to start the year so far. Uh, to the upside, we have the Russell up 1.34%, micro Bitcoin futures up 3.2%, and micro Ethereum futures up 4.71% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. To talk about our big four, we already mentioned crude oil down 1.29%. We have the Nasdaq up 0.18%, the S&Ps up 0.31%, and gold, where are you on this list? Gold up 0.49% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside out of our big four. I'm going to pull up an equities chart. I'm going to take my executions off of here so we can see it more clearly. But here we go with the S&P, coach. We know we had PPI come out this morning. We talked about maybe not seeing a ton of overnight price action because the market is waiting for the number. We did get a little bit of a gap up. We tried to fill that gap last night. When you see overnight markets look like this and you have an idea that we have a big number coming out in the morning, coach, are you looking to take trades in the equities overnight, or are you going to just wait until the morning on these?
I'm going to wait until the morning.
Yeah.
I didn't even look at it. Anything, these numbers have been pretty important and volatile, and boy, did they show it was volatile. But I won't trade it overnight.
Yeah.
And there was some opportunity there.
Yeah.
There was movement.
It moved this range here, this 30-minute range, 30-minute opening range is about 5 points. Is that a big enough range to trade? Maybe. Maybe you could, scalp this back and forth. For me personally, it's a little too tight. Maybe, you could buy this gap fill here. But once we start to get into London, of course, our friends in London start the party and gave us a little bit of a rally. But to me, the day really started with the PPI number coming out. And we have that candle here. And this is, we say it all the time, try not to trade in that news candle. This candle is on the S&P's 40 points. I'm a new S&P trader as of this year, coach, but 40 points, help me with the math real quick, on a one lot, is that $2,000?
$2,000.
How do you limit your risk in a move like this if you're wrong?
Well, let me ask you, it was 40 points. Wait, is that a 3-minute chart?
This is a 3-minute chart, but I think we could go down to a 1 minute. I think we could go down to a 30-second. And it's, what's the lowest time frame we can go down to on a Topstep chart? Let's look at it. This might be the one. This is a 5-second chart.
All right.
Maybe we can tighten the room up, the range up a little bit. But this is a 5-second chart. In 5 seconds, we had a 30-point candle. It's almost impossible to limit your risk. You have to be right. But this is like being a soccer goalie and you're doing penalty kicks in the World Cup Championship. You're either gonna be a champion or you lose, right? And I don't think most of us should be putting that type of risk on our trades. Just give it the time to settle. Even if you're right on this, it kind of enforces, in my opinion, some false sense of security. If you had the trade on already and the market's trading away from your entry and you want to hold it through it, it's a little easier. But if you're getting into the trade in this consolidation right here, there's no telling how that market is going to move. So our suggestion is going to be to stay out of it. But if you have a repeatable process to trade it, do your thing.
5 seconds.
5 seconds.
So the day was over in 5 seconds, and from my point of view,
Mm.
I mean, how do you? I mean, and well, let me ask the audience: how did everybody do today? I see some people did well, but overall, these, from my experience, these days can be just vicious.
Yep.
A lot of combines get blown out. Um, I made one trade in each, the Nasdaq and the S&P. Took some small losses. Stopped trading.
Nice.
Um, but there really wasn't any follow through. That it broke both sides of VWAP. It just punished. It was a punishing day.
Hmm.
I still believe tomorrow's the day that we're going to get some movement. But I'm chef 5 seconds,
Yeah.
30 points, S&Ps. That's $1,500. We talked yesterday about staying away, waiting for the news and trading off of that. I can't say it enough. Unless you were, like you said, you were the goalie and you were going to be a champion or not, it was a coin flip.
Yeah, especially if you were trying
Um,
to trade during that number. I do think the price action kind of cleared up a little bit later on in the day. But yeah, I mean, people try it. People are going to try it tomorrow, and they're either going to pass a combine, make some money on their XFA, or lose the account. There's not a lot of in between if you're trying to trade at the minute that candle drops. Uh, So try to stay out of it. But what I think we've talked about a couple times here, Coach, is once this candle prints, it presenting some opportunity to trade. One of the first
yeah,
trades that I did take was a short. Once we had the next 3 minute candle. Uh, a lot of times the way I'll look at these news prints, we'll let the first 3 minutes go. We have the second candle print, and I'm going to attach a VWAP to it, just like I would anything else. And a pretty flat line VWAP gives me an opportunity. This is one of those momentum stops that we talked about, right? Where if I can get in short somewhere near the close of this candle, or above the above the close of the candle, then my risk is going to be above the high where I took this short, but I'm risking about 6 points. If the market wants to continue and it likes the news and wants to rally above, then I'll get out. But this VWAP being a flat line gave me a little bit of confidence to at least take a short back to 50% of the range. Now, could I look for the full move? I could, but we also know that once that news prints, we can see the volume. It's going to die out until the New York session opens up. And with it being a momentum trade, do I want to hold this for 2.5 hours in order to get that price target, or do I lower my price targets? We talk about 2-to-1 trades all the time. If I can get a short somewhere up here at 59.12s, this is a pretty quick 2-to-1 trade, and this could be it for the day, right? I took 3 trades today. I took this one, a gold short, and an S&P long, micro S&P long. But this could have been the one trade for the day, right? And if you have the patience to wait this 3 minute candle out, then this is to me a higher probability setup that's not going to blow your account if you're wrong, right? I'd much rather wait 3 minutes and risk 6 points instead of risking however many are going to print when that news drops. Um,
interesting.
from that point, and I'm going to pull up the 30 minute chart, Coach, because there's a level that we talk about often that came into play today. Uh, but here's the 3 minute opening range. Same thing here. We kind of chopped around for a little while. Um, and it again wasn't the cleanest trade, but it did present some opportunity. We have that major 5,900 level that's around there as well, where the market had to decide whether or not we were going to trade through it. Once we got below the low of this news candle, again another opportunity here. I think for a decent short, but I'm gonna go back to a 30-minute chart real quick, Coach, and I'm going to pull up the moving averages and tell me what that white line is up there.
That was 200 bar moving average.
200 moving average. We're below it. I know Coach Paul say all the time, if we're below the 200 moving average on the 30-minute, looking to sell, and we can see kind of where that high tick is on this 30-minute chart here. Pretty much to the tick. I'm going to go down to a shorter time frame. I was in a meeting with some of the VIPs, and we talked about setting a precedent for or identifying the personality for the day for the market. And can the market continue to trend out of this? Potentially, yes, right? If we look at a higher time frame. But from the time the news printed, this is telling us range bound market, right? This flat VWAP from the time the news printed. So looking for areas to fade the extremes of the range, I think is the way we have to trade it until the market changes. In this case, looking at higher time frame levels, we have that 200 moving average on the 30-minute chart, presented a really nice opportunity to take a short. And it's something that we talk about all the time, right? So that presented a decent short there. These markets were pretty wild. We were just talking in the Discord chat, but it's like a rodeo, um, trying to catch this market. Uh,
Uh, what can you say about that?
right,
That is non-committal.
100%.
Is really at the end of the day, right back into the middle of the range.
Yep. Yeah. Right back into the middle. To me, I mean, this is really what it was. Was it just a big range day, um, where it's almost two or three trends in a range day, right? Where high to low we had 75 points, which is a decent enough range to trade, um, but still a little difficult. The other trade I want to talk about here before we move on to another market was the trade we were looking at on Topstep TV. This was right around 11:30 a.m. There was a trader in the Discord chat that called out the 2-day VWAP, which is this. I'm going to put a white line here. This 2-day VWAP here, this white line here, in the S&Ps. And when we got onto the segment, I was looking for a long, but kind of hesitant to take it because to that point, we've only, it was pretty much a sell side day, right? We see some rejection around that VWAP, where I'm looking for a long if we can reclaim this, but we haven't yet, right? So all of this rejection is causing some hesitation, but then we get this candle here that closes above it, right? So I know I'm looking long. We kind of look below these lows here, and sellers couldn't take control. This candle right here that closed above that VWAP, and if we can see it, from the sell-off, that was the first candle that closed above it. This is, to me, an opportunity to get in long. Do I know that this entire move is going to happen this way? I don't. But looking at this candle here gives me some confirmation that buyers are stepping in. Now, are they covering shorts? Are they new buyers stepping in? I don't really know. But now I have a location where I want to get into a potential trade, and I have an idea of where I can set my risk somewhere below this. It doesn't have to be at the low of this candle. It could be a little the low of the day. But I have a general idea that the market is trying to bounce here. And that's what that trade was based on. I think I got long at 61 and a half, with some micros, and took 10 points. Again, setting my expectations. My target was the low of this news candle. Did I know it was going to go higher? I didn't, but you kind of take what the expectations are. Um, Anything else on the equities, Coach? Let's
What
go ahead.
what was well, let's go to the NASDAQ.
Okay.
Same tale of two cities there.
Yeah,
Really,
very
um,
similar.
wow.
Very similar markets here. And if we go out to a daily, I want to look at the daily. Tell me what you're seeing on this daily, coach. I'm going to pull up your moving averages. What are we looking at here on the daily?
Well, we had this correction. We're under the 20 and the 50. It's like we're going to get a cross here in the 20 and the 50. This really needs to start rallying. Um, that looks like a tough chart. Those wicks
Yeah,
from yesterday and today. It's telling you, we can also look at there's no follow through selling. So I believe we kind of saw this action last year, very similar. Um, and stocks like to go up. So still above the 200. Boy, does that look similar.
yeah, it does.
I'd love you to do a trend line from a high, those three highs. And then, yeah, this is no man's land.
Yeah,
um, but being that we're above the 200 and Warren Buffett didn't get rich by getting short stocks, um, could be an opportunity to buy. Like you said, look at all those selling days.
yep,
It really hasn't gotten very far.
yeah.
I think tomorrow is a very important day.
I would agree with you. Six down days in the Nasdaq. Here in the Nasdaq futures. I think James was talking about the last time we had 6 down days was 2023, sometime in 2023. I can't remember exactly what the day was, but it doesn't happen often, right? So does that mean you just blindly buy it? No, but the probabilities are low that we see another down day. But again, coach, if I had the settlement for tomorrow, I could still end up blowing an account if I don't trade it the right way.
Position sizing. Um, like I said, if you don't position size right, you can't. If you were trading over leverage today, I'd imagine you're going to blow out
Yep.
because these turns were just absolutely vicious. I mean, up and down. And what did we get? Basically, it's unchanged.
Right.
Um, wow. So losing well today or making money, whatever. What do we preach? What is the formula for success? Following a process. And in your process, in mine, I don't make money every day.
Me either.
I don't even come close to that. But limiting risk, limiting your losses. Um, if you did that today, you had a good day. If you made money today and you followed your process, great job. But if you blow out today, you have to go back and because we had a question. Let me get to it. Can you guys talk about ways to maintain discipline?
Yep.
And that's a great question on a day like today. because an undisciplined approach is going to lead to some severe losses. Um, so, number one, on any trading process in the hierarchy is risk management, because you had to survive today. You have to what? I mean, it's just really, it sounds real simple. And if it was that simple, everybody would be making big money, but it's not. But number one, to maintain discipline is to limit how much money you lose. You hear me say it? 12 to 15% of your equity. Nowhere 20. I personally, it's too much for me. But up in that range. That's the number one way on discipline, because you have to execute your process. It has to be. I mean, if you go to think about it, if you go play poker and you don't have discipline, you're going to lose all your money over time. It's the same, and because you're taking risk in an unknown environment, and you can get easily spun around. And today is a day that usually happens. So managing, having a risk budget, and cutting off your trading, I'd say at 15% of your equity.
Yep.
That to me is because that instills discipline, because it controls how much you can lose. Trying to control our emotions is a really, really tough thing. Just like anybody, just leave me alone. I'll get, it's like coaching basketball, but that person just turning it over. No, I'm good. I'm good. No, you're not. And that's why we have a coach to pull you out and steady your mind. We have that here at Topstep and Topstep X. You can limit how much you lose in a day.
Yep. Uh,
Set that first, and I'll hand it to you, Coach.
the one thing I'll say about discipline, and we'll take it off the charts. Again, shout out to Stanley, who was on Topstep TV earlier today, number 156 on the big board, trading in a live account. It says he trades from his car, um, on his phone, and made it to the a live account and the big board doing that. And a lot of the comments were just like, how does this guy do this? This is not professional. This is not a real trader. He's somebody who's taken 50K out of Top Step accounts doing it his way. And the one thing I heard from him was, I give myself, if my if my first trade of the day is a winning trade, I'm done for the day. Those are my rules. If my first trade is a loser, I'll give myself one more opportunity on the same trade idea, because maybe my timing is wrong. If that second trade is a loser, I lock myself out. To me, what discipline is establishing rules for yourself and saying, I'm going to follow these things. And they got to be the right. And then he also said he's not looking at the charts after those two trades, right? Charts don't exist until the next morning, where he's found a setup, and a set of rules that work for him. Coach, you coach basketball players. Um, a lot of us, think that I have to sit at the charts all the time to figure out what's going to happen. I need to back test, and I need to continue to do this and that. If you coach a kid that says, "Hey, I don't need coaching. I'm going to go in the gym, and work out by myself, but I'm going to stay there for 15 hours in the day," and you happen to go check that kid's workout and he's shooting the ball backwards, how much better is he actually going to get at the game?
I never thought of that, but
Right?
yeah,
You gotta
it's
you
not going
and
to happen.
he might make some of them, because if you do anything long enough, you're going to see some type of success. But uh, you know, you have to play the game and give yourself a chance to succeed at the game the right way, right? So, knowing when to spend time off the charts. We talked about it a little bit, but sometimes your job is not to make money. Um, Coach, you just said you don't make money every day. You don't come close to it. Sometimes your job is not to make money. Sometimes your job is to uh, maintain your account on days that don't fit your playbook. So then on the days that do fit your playbook, you could take advantage of, right? And I think a lot of times the mindset is every time I sit at the desk, I have to make money. And that's a dangerous mindset because it's not always the ideal price action for your trading plan. Uh, so identify when that is. We talked about it last week. What was it last week? Tuesday was some of the worst price action that I've seen for my trading style. And for me, it was just like, hey, stay alive. Stay alive because tomorrow is going to present better price action. So to me, discipline comes from knowing what works for you and then committing to doing those things. Right? It's hard to teach, and I think Jen and John said, I can do the same thing for 30 to 90 days and then it just breaks. Why? That has nothing to do with the charts. That has everything to do with you. Uh, One, believing that following that plan is going to get you some type of favorable result. It may not get you exactly the result that you want, but it's going to get you somewhere close to it. But you actually have to believe that, right? You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I know that this works for people, so I'm going to do it." If you don't have any belief in it, eventually you're going to let that break because you don't truly trust it. But then committing to doing it all the time is really what discipline is. But we'll get off the soapbox there.
Well, it's true. I mean, it's just, you know, without it, without discipline is following a set of rules.
Yep.
Those rules are based on principles. But like I said, at the top of that chain, the priority number one is to limit your losses. So I like that, the guy was on Top Step TV that you were talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
It takes two trades, and he does that every day. That's his discipline.
Yep.
But that discipline follows a plan. I guarantee you this: without a plan, it's like trying to go on a road trip. When I'm in Chicago, if I was driving to LA, I would get a set of instructions from Google Maps or Waze and follow that set of instructions. When I decided in the middle of it, I go, "This is bullshit. I'm gonna just try my own way. I don't think I'm gonna get to LA anytime soon,
Right.
or if I even survive." So discipline starts with you creating a trading plan that you can execute that fits your personality. One of the great things here at Topstep, it gives you the ability to do that without losing a fortune. This is really important. You hear Mike Patak say it all the time. He lost $30,000 account, blew all of his money. That's very expensive way to find your discipline.
Yeah, it is.
Here you can do that with a reasonable, small budget. So learning that, but by the way, you can avoid losses, and 90% of us are going to have to fail to learn. That Ray Dalio calls it struggling well, learning how to struggle well. So we learn from our losses, from our struggles. If we're not struggling well, we're just flat out failing. So take this opportunity. Today, I call this a litmus test for most people.
Okay.
It's a day that you can, with sharp movements on both sides, the litmus test is, can you lose well today? Can you make a little money, or did you get blown out? I used to get blown out on days like today. There has to be some process that allows you to be wrong and not lose your account. So these are the lessons that you learn to become a consistent trader. If you're trying to hit a, I call it, and I used to do it, I try to hit a grand slam with no one on base.
It's impossible to do.
It's impossible to do. And if you get, it's just not. So, but that's where discipline comes. Create your process, execute your process. Success will come.
Thank you for that, Coach. Let's get back into these charts a little bit. But that is the important stuff that we need to hear. Who was it just said, thank you for this leveling at the end of the day. That's a good way to look at it. It's kind of leveling the playing field, whatever happened, kind of getting that post game locker room. Hey, this is what happened. This is what we did well. This is what we didn't. Before the next time we go into battle. Let's look at gold here. We talked about one of the other metals, platinum, but gold. Gold has been a little bit of a difficult one for me, at least trading. It's we had a couple of trend days, but if we look at a higher time frame, it's really not choosing a direction either. If we go out to a daily, I did trade it today. Presented a decent trade today, but kind of directionless right now. But if we go down to a 30-minute chart, we'll look at last night's open.
Wow.
What happened? What do you see in there?
This is that small range.
Oh yeah,
Like
small range. Right back to that white line up there on the close. We talked about the liquid gold trade. Does anyone remember that reference? And did you see the trade today? Because it kind of played out. But here is pretty range bound, right? Pretty range bound. VWAP barely left that 30-minute range. We chopped around for a little while. You could look at PPI as the start of the day. Can you highlight the small range? Let's look at it here. Put a box on what you're referring to. All right, we just choose your own adventure here. So first, I'm going to look at the ATR on the daily. We were above 40, and that daily ATR is decreasing, right? So this is showing us that ranges are contracting a little bit. We saw this last year as well, right? With this decreasing ATR, we see what happens to the markets. They kind of chop around here. But what I'm considering a small range is pretty much this price action from this candle here. This was the day before Thanksgiving. We talked about this candle yesterday. Since this candle printed, gold has not chosen a direction.
it really hasn't.
Yeah, it is stuck. So this is what I'm calling the small range. And again, daily ATR is decreasing as well. So on trades specifically, go ahead, Coach.
When the ATR starts collapsing like that, and there was one thing with the ATRs with that day off last Thursday, kind of threw off the ATR a little bit because it took a day out. But still, you look at the ranges, it's contracting and the volatility is coming out. Another word for that is we're finding balance.
Yep.
And the markets move from balance to imbalance back to balance. This market is balanced. It's when it breaks out of this range. You could look at trend lines. You could look at moving averages. You can look at profiles. Just to understand why ATR, I look at ATR, it gives me an idea of the volatility. Over a longer term, when volatility comes in, by default, we have a balanced market. That is one of the prime objectives of markets, is to find balance and move the imbalance. This is market, it's going to break out of this one way or another.
Yep. Look at Crude.
Look at Crude. Absolutely. So, yeah, man, we're right smack dab in the middle.
Yep.
As the book says, even a skunk couldn't make a cent in this market, and that seems to be where gold is at, except for market makers.
Right. So just looking at a shorter time frame, because range bound markets do present some opportunity. But I like I said, I took three trades today. One of them was a short in gold. Same thing here. Looking at this news candle, attaching a VWAP to it and not being able to take out that high. There was some urgency in this VWAP to the downside where it didn't leave the range, but it looked like it wanted to. So I took a short right around 2680, right around here. Stop was 50% of the range. And I wanted this trade to go to 2650. I pulled up a higher time frame chart and I'm just like, oh, come on. We have some room here. The market sold on that number, just sell all the way down to 2650. I'll hold it all the way there. That's what I want. But then we always have to check, you said litmus test, coach. My expectations for the market, what does the market say, right? I don't get to control it, but if my expectations align with what the market agrees with, then great. Let's make some money together. But I have to remember everything we just talked about the higher time frame in gold. It's directionless so far. Over the last month, we'll call it. So I could look for a continued sell-off, but if the market is not showing it to me, then I have to take what it's willing to give me, right? And I think this is where we talk about paying attention to what the market says. In this consolidation, do I just take the trade off? I didn't, but I'm going to one, scale out of the position, and two, move my stop to where it's not going to get back into my pockets, right? And in this case, I'm happy I did that, right? Where hope is not a strategy. This wanting this to go to 2650 was hope, was a little bit of hope, and it didn't happen, right? So could I hope that it went lower and held on to the trade? I could have, but then it would have turned into a loser, or break even at best, or a loser at worst if I wasn't willing to pay attention to what the market was telling.
Yeah, hope is a four-letter word.
Yes,
it's not a strategy. I used to, when I was younger, I used to hope all the time, and I finally had to go. The moment I say hope, I need to get out of the trade.
Yep.
Like you said, hope is not a strategy, and you know what? You could get linked to hope, and that's where things get they get out of control in a hurry.
Yeah.
I had that story in the trading pit. I was stuck in a position. I was beyond hope. I was praying, God, let me out of this. Just if it gets to unchanged, I'll get out. Please, oh. And a friend of mine, an older trader, looked at me. He could see it. Maybe because I was ashen white, and I was like, he goes, "Yeah, you're stuck, aren't you?" And I'm like, "How can you tell?" He goes, "Yeah, and you're praying to God that lets you out." And I'm like, "Yeah, kind of." And he goes, "Well, God's perfect. He's on the other side of your trade. Just get out." And it was so true. I did get out. It saved me from that account from losing even twice as much. But like I said, hope, praying, it has no room. It's a message saying you're doing something that you're holding on to something you shouldn't have.
100%.
Let that be a lesson. And that's where it goes back to learning to love good losses.
Yeah, agreed. It's okay. It's okay to lose.
It's
Social media will tell you the opposite, right? Where people don't lose or only show winners and things like that, but that's just not reality. And if you just completely neglect that losing is a real thing and try to be perfect in this game, it's going to show you why that's not the case. Uh, Dolby had asked when I was on Topstep TV earlier today, what's one thing that surprised you about the markets when you started trading? And it was the fact that I didn't know everything. And you got to get hit pretty hard to learn that lesson, in my case. And it was just like, ow, that, that really hurt, right? Where I thought you knew everything. And you have to be aware that downside is possible and it's okay. It's like you actually want it because you you build resilience through learning how to lose well, uh, and understanding that you're okay the next day or the next trade or whenever you decide to put on another trade. Uh, and Scott Vaughn just said it in the chat: faith over hope, right? Faith in the fact that hey, I can follow my trade plan, right? Wins or losses, I have faith that the work that I've done works out in my favor to a high probability. I just have to give it the space to work. Got a crude oil chart up here, Coach. Speaking of crude, we're securely above that trend line from the highs. What are we seeing here in crude?
Well, we finally got a little bit of a sell-off after this blistering rally. Well, that's par for the course. It's still in an uptrend, but long-term trend lines usually get tested.
Mm.
So we blow that out a little more. No, I mean, make it wider so we can look at today's action a little bit. That's hardly a topping formation. um, it still looks pretty bullish. Let's put up the 200-day moving average. Have we? When's the last time we broke? Okay, 3 days ago, where we broke a previous day's low.
Yep.
Still looks pretty solid. Very favorable to the buy side. Let's see what today's action looked like.
Like you said, today we got a little bit of a pullback, but it looks a lot more dramatic on the daily chart. This is maybe another tough one to trade. Let's see. We have last night's open there. That's a nice.
There was
Some nice urgency there. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, there was emergency. There's lack of buying at these high prices.
Right.
What do I mean by that? We left early, urgency, VWAP leaving, and the rally wasn't sustained. It was rejected immediately into new lows. So some good selling action against the uptrend. Let's see where that 200 bar moving average is. I think there's a high probability we go down and test that in the next couple days. But interesting, someone was talking about the 20 bar moving average and the 50.
Okay.
What did we have today? We finally crossed it from the beginning of this rally.
Yep.
Let's see when last time that. So definitely losing its momentum. I think there's a good probability we go back and test that. How we react off of that, I'm looking to buy it. But right here, that's kind of no man's land. What do you see?
Similar. Looking for a little bit of a pullback. Again, the closer we get to that $80 level, the less bullish I get, just because of higher time frame. We've seen such a strong reaction of sellers there. Um, so yeah, it's kind of mixed. I haven't traded crude at all really recently. Um, and I think just take what it kind of gives us at this point. I don't really have an opinion on it. Uh, yeah, not too much there. But shout out to Scott Vaughn. He said he took the trade last night. And I don't necessarily need to have an opinion about the markets, right? Does it present a setup? And there we go. My opinion is that this is a good short. If you see this, right? If I see this on this trade, it could be to the upside or the downside. I would take it. The one thing we had a couple of days ago, we had a trade that set up kind of with some of this urgency. It was actually in gold, where we were selling off a little bit, but the medium time frame in gold was to the long side. Uh, Anytime you take a trade, just keep the overall, especially if you're looking to hold it for a little bit longer. If you're scalping, it's a little bit different. But if you're looking to hold on to a trade for a trend or whatever it is, make sure you keep that higher time frame trend in mind, to set reasonable expectations. Right, your trade could be a pullback in a higher time frame trend, where you may not get as many points as you're expecting, um, because the market is just pulling back before it continues in that direction. Um, so just keep that in mind. But really nice trade in a crude here. Any other markets that you want to talk about, Coach?
We had a little break in the corn today. Let's see the action there.
All right, looking at corn on you want to look at a 30?
Yeah, let's start with the 30. We had continuation after the opening at 9:30. But it's just got a little that is profit taking.
Mm,
I'm looking to buy. Let's look at the 200. I can see, there we go. The 20s crossing up high. It's probably going to give us an opportunity to buy 50. I would look at 50% of that big candle, the WASD candle. Probably going to be a good opportunity to buy. We're finding some resistance finally, but overall, still pretty bullish chart. But let's look at the daily. Yeah. Still looks like it wants to go rock higher. But finding a little resistance, getting a little tired. Let's watch tomorrow. Let's watch 50% of that WASD candle, see if we can hold that.
nice. Uh, just real quick, platinum. Yeah, platinum. Oh wow, I didn't even see that on the daily. Platinum 2 days ago,
Yeah.
right off that daily 200 moving average. Uh, we talked about platinum earlier, Paul H. But you said that was your best trade of the day. Really nice one, taking it from the London Open, uh, where we see volume starting to pick up, and a really nice short in that market. And Courtney talking about micro Bitcoin moved as well. Uh,
Yeah, it did.
oh yeah, here we go. Here's another. We're back above that 300, 200 moving average on the 30. Ton of opportunity out there, right? We don't have to just trade the equities. Some of these markets present cleaner one directional moves than what we're seeing in the equities. Look at this in micro Bitcoin, right? Set up kind of that urgency trade, took a little while to leave, but once it did, that VWAP started to act as a support. Really nice trade here as well. So, ton of opportunity. Again, I don't suggest scanning through 35 different markets while you're actively trading. But I had a VIP who switched over from trading the Nasdaq to trading the Dow, and likes it much better, right? Where it's just like, hey, I just the stress that the Nasdaq was causing, the history that we have, you just want to separate from it, and trade something else, and that might be it, right? If you're not seeing success in the market that you're trading, uh, maybe you need to continue doing some work, right, on your strategy and sticking to it. Uh, but maybe it's just not the one for you. Um, And
I always wanted to be a dentist. Right? You don't have to, you
right.
don't, seriously, find your niche, that's extreme. I'm glad you brought that up. I find that very important.
Hmm.
I mean, there's doesn't have to be in the NASDAQ, doesn't have to be in corn either, but
Right.
you might find a market that fits your personality. It's true.
Andrew in the chat says NQ for life. I'm sure someone in the world has that tattooed right on their neck, right here. Um, let's see. Do we got any other questions
Uh,
in the
uh,
chat? Oh, I just opened YouTube. Didn't mean to do that. Any other questions in the chat? We got one more here from Maxim Photo. Can you show how to tell deltas in ES? So in TopStep X, there is no delta indicator. For me, if I'm looking at delta, I'm using Quantower for the volume analysis stuff. But you could use a tool like Bookmap. I think delta tools are coming to TopStep X eventually. It's somewhere in the middle of the priority list, but currently there are no delta indicators. But you could always ask Hoag if you're watching TopStep TV. You can ask him, and he will shout out the delta numbers. And we're usually calling them out, 10, 15 times a day. Uh, all right. Coach Hoop with the lean hogs.
yeah, do whatever. Yeah,
Whatever works.
whatever works.
The money's green.
Meets be Bitcoin, could be one or two markets. If you have a strategy, you can do that. If you don't have a strategy, you're relying on that four-letter word.
Hope. Hope, hope, hope. Coach, we are about to wrap up. We got a couple minutes left. I don't see any other questions, but I do have some notes to go over. So you got any final words before we go into tomorrow?
Yeah, same thing tomorrow, as we've talked about today. Let that number come out and react from there. Limit your losses, or at least limit how much you lose in your account.
There
Stay
we go.
alive.
Stay
All right.
alive. We do have a guest coming on. Like we said, we're going to start bringing more guests onto Top Step, onto At the Buzzer. Coach Robert. Coach Robert's going to be joining us. I haven't spoken in depth with Coach Robert in a little while, so it should be a fun conversation on Thursday. He's going to be joining us. If you don't know Coach Robert, he pretty much automates all of his trading strategies. He is the tech guy behind most of the things that we do here. So if you have any questions for Coach Robert specifically, maybe about automated trading or anything like that, or how you can use technology. We had someone in the chat. Sorry, I'm the worst with remembering names from the chat, so excuse me for that. But someone in the chat yesterday mentioned using Chat GPT as your journaling tool. If you have questions like that on how you could implement, technology into your trading to help, bring them for Coach Robert on Thursday, um, and we can ask them there. Also, if you're eligible for the payout club, if you've taken over 5K in payouts from Topstep, fill out that link that I just put in the chat. And then if you want to get on Topstep TV, one more link for you. If you want to join us on Topstep TV, come on and trade. If you're one of the people who got muted today during the stream, you probably can't type in the chat. Um, the chat was letting Isaac and Dakota have it this morning. So if you're one of those people, we appreciate you first for being here. I want to say that first and foremost. Any troll or whatever it is, we appreciate the view. We appreciate you tuning in and uh, causing engaging conversation. But if you want to show us how to trade uh, on TopStep TV, because everyone on the air can't trade, fill out that link as well. But if you love us, if you enjoy trading with us, I was on with Hudson today, which was a great segment. I think he's going to be back on. Fill out that link in the chat for our casting call. The team is going to review all of those submissions and get back to you to get onto the show, which is a great time. I got nothing else. Trade well, manage risk. I know for me, I'm going to approach tomorrow the same way as I did today. Probably not going to look at the charts until uh, CPI prints tomorrow, frame out that candle and see if it presents me some opportunities from there. I will be on Fast Markets tomorrow as well with Jerome, so I will see you all then. Coach, thank you as always.
Thank you, Coach, and everybody. Have a good evening.
Have a good one. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.